As I said at the beginning of Mass today, we hear the temptations of Jesus. And so are we tempted. Tempted in many ways. And probably more often than we admit. And some of those temptations, as I said, we do give in to. But Jesus knows, what we're going through. We have a problem sometimes when it comes to Jesus. We said, he got tempted, but he was God. Satan wasn't going to win this one. I don't know if we can say that. We can say it after the fact. Anything is possible because there was that human side of Jesus. But the point is that Jesus did resist those temptations. And we hear in the first reading today from Genesis, Genesis story. Now, I got in trouble one time when I talked about another miracle and suggested that it could have happened that way, but it's possible it happened another way. And the same is true with this Genesis reading. We don't know if it happened exactly this way, because often the scriptures are trying to explain something. How did this happen? Or why did we do this? How did the world come about? Well, we have the creation story. But the creation story isn't just a Bible story. It's that too, of course. But it also is reflective of other literature, if you will, that existed in the day. And if you look into it, you'll see aspects of that in different types of literature, including the Bible. And so we have this story, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And as the story says, it's a wonderful place. All the fruits, vegetables, whatever you want to eat, all plant-based. Are yours for the taking. Except that one in the middle. Just don't touch that one. Leave it alone. Everything else is yours. And instead of things sort of going happily along, enter Satan. Enter the evil one. Enter the tempter. Whatever word you use. Who shows up for this little give and take, this little debate with Eve, so that she can bring Adam in line. And so Satan begins to sow some doubt in the mind of Eve. Well, did God tell you you couldn't eat from that tree over there in the middle? Did he? And maybe Adam or Eve thinks to herself, well, actually, it was Adam who told me. I wonder if Adam is trying to tell me what to do. And so we have this little doubt. And you almost can see Satan sort of grinning, smiling. Because he's not only starting to separate Adam from Eve, but now he has a bigger prize to go after. Dividing people, man and woman, from the ways of God. And so it almost becomes about them, Adam and Eve. At least that is what Satan wanted them to think and to act upon. God's just saying that because he doesn't want you to be like him. Satan doesn't want that relationship with God to intensify, but to decrease. And as humans, we begin to think, well, what can I get out of this? How can I delay my own gratification. Temptations abound in our world. And sometimes they're very, very subtle. The tempter, if you will, is that voice often within us. That voice within us that urges us, put yourself first. Put yourself first. Now, there are times when we need to put ourselves first. But that's not every day. Not every moment of the day. Hey, if you're sick, take care of yourself. If it's been a hard week at work and you need to take a nap, well, take a nap. But, of course, it's always, where's the balance? Where's the balance between one's needs and the needs around us? The tempter wants us to place our wants, our expectations, before the needs of other people. The tempter, the voice within us, tries sometimes to separate us from one another. We have these relationships with people, and they're not always, on a high level. There's ups and downs in relationships. And sometimes, we begin to doubt the positiveness of that relationship with someone. It could be anyone of any age. Well, they don't like me anymore. You have no proof of it, but that's what I think. I asked them to go on vacation with me, to Hawaii. It was going to cost them $55,000. They said they couldn't afford it. Well, they're a friend of mine. They should afford it. No. No. But that's the voice of the tempter within us. The voice of the tempter within us trying to separate us from God. From God. God, the tempter many times acts in, how shall we say, invisible ways. Invisible ways. Well, why should I go to church? It's all partying. Go on vacation. This is the voice of the tempter in us, trying to separate us. One might ask, what's the voice of the Spirit of God within us, trying to bring us together, trying to bring us together with God? Not just as a person, but as a family and as a church community, a people. I got to tell you something. We hear all this stuff about clergy sexual abuse and everything, and it's a very serious matter, and it's not to be made light of. It needs to certainly be addressed. But there are moments where I say to myself, are some of the things that are happening part of the tempter? Trying to separate God's people from God, from God, from God. Like Jesus, the Spirit of God went into the desert with Jesus. Like Jesus, the Spirit of God walks with us every day. The Spirit of God that offers a life beyond all the kingdoms, beyond all the riches of the world. It seems to me that these 40 days of Lent are meant to lead us from temptation. These 40 days of Lent are meant to lead us closer and closer to one another and to others. What can we do? What should I do? What should we do to draw closer to the people of God? whether they be someone we interact with or somebody halfway around the world. These 40 days of Lent are meant to draw us closer and closer to God, into the ways of God, every day. Every day. The Spirit of God walks with us. May we cooperate with that Spirit of God. Yesterday was February 29th, right? Make sure I'm on the right day, the right week, the right month, I know I'm getting older and I don't know what day of the week it is. 29th. I should say, how many people had a birthday yesterday? Oh, too bad. Too bad. You'd be so young. I heard this past week that there was a movement, I think it started about 20 years ago, a movement associated with the 29th day of February that happens only once every 4 years. It's called Leap of Kindness Day. Leap year, leap of kindness, where people in any number of situations of life are asked to do something kind for others or another. And I heard that of the 50 states, there's 47 that have something that they do, or at least encourage, during the leap year. Of course, we should do that often, not just on a leap year. But it gets you thinking, what are the acts of kindness that we're called to be a part of? There was a cartoon that a friend of mine, I get them almost every day, and they're wonderful. And it was a cartoon, a one square cartoon. And it was a little calendar date, 28th, but it's like a person. The 28th, it said. And the doorbell rings, and the 28th opens the door. And he opens the door, or she opens the door, and who's at the door? A person, a little square person, the 29th. And the caption says, "You haven't been around for 4 years, and now you're trying to come back into my life?" Well, hopefully God and God's people and the goodness of God and God's people continues to come into our lives.